for everybody who's part of the board and those who are playing leadership roles in Main Street. It's a really important job. So I want to say congratulations to the board on the annual meeting. And I know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I want to lay out a little bit what's going on in Boston and our economy. Talk about some opportunities, talk about some real challenges, and then I think there's some time for some Q&A, right? So I'll do the real quick talk. Hopefully we can go back and forth with some question and answer and really sort of get to what you really want to talk about. First, I guess I should say as Chief of Economic Development, because it's a brand new position that hadn't existed before, that in my cabinet, there's the Boston Redevelopment Authority, so the BRA. There is Jobs and Community Services, which is now going to be called the Office of Workforce Development. There is the Office of Small and Local Business Enterprise, the Office of, let's get this right, Tourism, Sports, and Entertainment. So that's an office name change. There is also the Office of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. Now, the new Liquor License Board is in the Economic Development Cabinet before Mayor Walsh. That was a state function. And I want to talk about liquor licenses a little bit. And then there's one more office that I'm forgetting. But there are about 6 or 7 offices in economic development. We're very close with Sheila and the Department of Neighborhood Development. But that's really seen under housing, right? So Sheila is the Chief of Housing. And so we launched a study. And we're in the process of doing a strategic plan because business development falls a little bit under my cabinet, and then business development falls a little bit under Sheila's cabinet. Because we know in neighborhood development, there is the Office of Business Development, right? And so hopefully by July, we will have a recommendation to the mayor on how we get to coordinate all of the business development, right? Because if you go to the city, it's a little bit all over the place, right? And one of the things that Mayor Walsh says, he just wants city government to be easier to access. He wants city government to be easier for you to go there and be like, okay, this is who I need to talk to, right? If I need to open a business, this is how I get it done. And he doesn't want it to be really complex. So our job internally is to try to help with that. So I'm trying to work with Sheila and others. ISD, for example. ISD is under environment, right? Either under Sheila or I, right? So we're trying to figure out what's the right alignment and how it makes sense. Boston is under a development board. We, the city of Boston, historically, in the last 300 and something years, have seen 3 major booms. 1930s, redefined Boston. 1960s and 70s, redefined, it was the filling of the Back Bay, it was the backbone of the city was, was raised, and you saw a new skyline. And then today's the new redefining of Boston. So the mayor launched a campaign called Imagine Boston 2030, where we need all of us to begin to think about, for the first time in 50 years, all together, about a city and what the city would look like together. And what's Four Corners' place in that city? What's its role? How is it being supported by everything else that's happening in the city? What's South Boston's and different neighborhoods as part of South Boston's role in the city, et cetera, JP, et cetera? Where are we putting our light industrial businesses? Where are we putting, is the Longwood Medical area going to continue to grow there? Or are we doing somewhere else? We're doing health and education. So we have big questions in front of us because right now there's $8 billion of development on the ground. $8 billion of development. $16.2 billion of development that's been approved, that's ready to go. Another $2 billion that's being reviewed at the BRA. We're seeing more development now than we've seen in a very, very long time. I say the city is growing, and in fact, if you look at the last housing report, the city might be growing faster than we thought it was growing when we first issued the housing report, and the mayor announced it at the end of last year. So right now, we know that the city is going to grow past 700,000. Right now, we're about 650,000, and we'll be past 700,000 in about 15 years. That's at a pace of more than a couple of thousand a year. And so we need to make sure that we understand some of the pressures that come with an economy that's growing that way. And I don't have to tell you because you live in some of those pressures. So our number one challenge in an economy that's growing this way is, are we providing the kind of training and workforce development that gives the people in the city of Boston and our neighborhoods the opportunity to take advantage of the jobs that are coming to the city? Do we have the right job mix coming to the city? In the last 10 years, Boston has lost 40% of its manufacturing jobs, 40%. And we've gained 32% of research, healthcare, life science jobs. So there's a real question of the kinds of jobs we're attracting to our city. And the mayor has said to me, John, you need to look at that. You need to attract the right kinds of jobs to our city. In that same time frame, Boston has become known for its income gap, being a city that has a high income gap of the rich and the poor, losing a middle class. So Boston in many ways is attracting the high income community, and we're keeping the low income, but we're losing the middle income. So that income gap is not only a geographic reality in Boston, it's also a racial reality in Boston. You can trace it in that way. We also have a net worth or asset gap, a wealth gap. Some people like to create the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston issued a report that basically said, and these are scary numbers, right? But 46% of Boston's households, I mean all Bostons, all races, ages, would not be able to survive with income disparity, with any income disruption past 3 months. That they would go under the federal poverty line. 46% of the 69% of African Americans, 76% of Latinos. 69% of African American families, 76% of Latino families, if they had an income disruption, a major income disruption, lost their job, roof caved in. You know, you could begin to think about somebody died, no life insurance for some folks, right? You know, and that kind of income insecurity is a problem. So the racial wealth gap continues to be something that we're looking at. This general income insecurity, but the racial gap is one that's really scary. Let me just do a quick quiz. What do we think is the median income for a white family in Boston? Median net worth.
80,000.
250,000. Median net worth. What do we think is the median net worth of a Caribbean family in Boston?
That's 80.
That's about 80. That's about 80.
That's about 80?
Yeah.
20,000? 10? 8,000.
Wow. What?
8,000. Let me get a worse number.
Wait, for your family? Did you say family?
What do you think is the median net worth of an African American family? Here I see. I'm just showing you that's the worst number. What's that?
Zero.
A little bit more than zero. $8. You see the report. See the report. $8. What is the median income, median net worth? Sorry, I'm sorry. I know you're recording. I like to walk around.
No, it's all right. I got you.
What's the median net worth of a Dominican Republic family? Zero. It's on the Federal Reserve Bank's website. Check it out. The Caribbean family is actually $12,000. Not even $12,000. $12,000, $8, and then they got the Puerto Rican family is $3,000. They wrote that for the first time I saw economic numbers. You rarely see them in terms of ethnicity. And it's an interesting conversation that we begin to have, but it's one that Mayor Walsh understands. Frankly, Standard & Poor's has said that the largest concern for America's economy is the wealth and income gap. The number one concern, Standard & Poor's. The mayor understands that, and I understand that to be the case. So when you start to think about a city that's booming and really growing within a regional economy that has grown on average in the last 10 years, during the recession, folks, at a rate of 4.8%. We have a GDP, gross domestic product, which means the value we add in production of things, of $370 billion. $370 billion. That's grown in the last 10 years by an average of 4.8%. Most cities our size are not an average 20%. We got some economists in the room here. I'm sure, they can talk about that. Is fast growth, fast growth. So the question is for us, really, how are we stewarding the growth of our neighborhoods? How are we stewarding the growth of the city? How are we going to make sure that as we grow as a city, that we're growing the kind of city that we can stay living? And as we grow as a city, it's the kind of city that's benefiting every individual, right? One thing neighborhoods tend to do, and I remember this at DSNI, neighborhoods tend to say, wait a minute, this is scary. Let's stop the growth. Let's stop the growth. And what ends up happening is you don't really stop the growth, but the growth is happening without your voice. Stopping the growth is, I haven't seen anybody do it. You might stop a project here and there, or stall a project here and there. But what you end up doing is you take a disposition of stopping it. So you think you stopped the growth, and it's happening without your voice. And it might be happening to your detriment. And so there's a real challenge, I think, in front of us to not just talk about the concerns around the growth, but the potential for how we leverage the growth. The number one thing we need to fight for in this economic boom is affordable housing. But first, two ties, number one, affordable housing and the skills gap. I started with the skills.
Education.
Right? And education is part of it. Right? So the skills gap meaning how do we train and get our people ready for jobs? Right? But equally as important is affordable housing, affordable commercial space, making sure people can play in this economy, can live in this economy, can stay in Boston, which is some of the things that we've been working for. And then the third thing I want to talk about, and I'll talk about each of the three on its own. The third challenge that I want to put out here is to make sure that not only the skills gap and affordable housing, but that in fact we are participating in the innovation, entrepreneurial, startup, business development world as we grow our city. That's not passing us by, and other people are doing it and we're not, right, in our neighborhoods. Those are the three things I want to talk about, and I'll talk about them briefly because I really want to get to the Q&A part, because that's the exciting part of being out here. So I talked about the skills gap a little bit, and education was raised. So the skills gap, the mayor has launched a high school redesign effort. And if you don't know, you might want to get involved with the high school redesign effort. And at the heart of the high school redesign effort is how do we prepare all of our children, eliminating the achievement gap, particularly the racial achievement gap, to be able to be successful in college or career, right? And that is the quest. And in Boston, let me just give you some numbers, because I'm a former school committee member. I like to dispel some of the notions around BPS, right? BPS has a lot of work to do, but BPS is doing really well, right? I just want to say this. And some schools are struggling more than others. We have too many mediocre schools. The dropout rate of BPS is the lowest it's ever been. The lowest it's ever been historically. I don't care who is in the majority of whatever cities. It is the lowest it's ever been in the history of BPS. The graduation rate is historic highs at like, I think 66%. Historic highs. Now I'm not claiming those numbers as, we've gotten to the promised land. 66% is not enough, right? I'm claiming those numbers to say BPS is doing some things well, and we need to continue on that track of improvement, doing more things well. But we need to, in that conversation about how we redesign our high schools, particularly make sure people succeed in getting jobs and succeed in college. BPS. Training programs, whether in community colleges or independent workforce development programs, need to now be tied to jobs. We need to not do training programs in absence of what jobs are out there. It's great for you to learn skills, get a certificate, but it's not good for you to learn skills, get a certificate, and not have a job. And too many of our training programs, you are happy with the certificate. Now, I'm all for certificates. I'll be there at the graduation, I'll give you the keynote. But what we really need you to walk out of that training program is with a job. Our community colleges need to do that, and our training program needs to do that. And that's going to be the higher bar we're setting through our new Office of Workforce Development that used to be the Office of Jobs and Community Services. As we give money, we want to see people have jobs. Because on one end of it, you've got neighborhoods with double digits unemployment rate. What's the unemployment rate of Boston in general? 5%. What's the unemployment rate of this neighborhood?
20.
23.
Depending on how you cut this neighborhood, depending on when we talk about neighborhood, it's in the 20s.
20,
Close to 20, in the 20s. And you don't want to do it by, because we just launched the MBK report. And so when we're talking about black males and Latino males, the number skyrockets. Right? We cannot have that in our neighborhood, which is why we've got to produce the kind of workforce development programs and the community colleges, the kind of programs that are working directly with those who are providing jobs. Because on one side, I hear from the neighborhoods, you can't get a job. On another side, I hear from employers, I don't have the right employees, or I can't find the right employees to do these jobs. There's a disconnect. The biggest asset you have in any economy is human capital. And if you can't train people to get into those jobs, we're failing as an economy. Number one priority. Second, 1A, affordable housing. And Marvin and company was just in to see us on affordable housing, and there's some clear issues on affordable housing. I'm going to take them off real quick and keep moving. One issue on affordable housing is we are not asking enough of developers. Developers have said this to us on the buyout, cash buyout. And so we're looking at it. The other issue on affordable housing is, in certain aspects, we're not asking enough of percentages on affordable housing. Where it makes sense, developers are giving us that. We've got developments in JP giving us 25% on affordable housing. Because they've heard the mayor say this is important. Now what happens when they give 20%? They're going up higher. There's more density, there's more scale. But the neighborhoods have shown that they're willing to do scale to trade for deep affordability. Right? There's a trade-off here. I'm not saying you should necessarily do this, but I'm saying next to the Fairmont train station, you should begin to think about density and trade off for more affordability and even other community benefits. Other neighborhoods are doing it, and it might be something to think about as you begin to develop in the Four Corners. But don't just say, no, we can't do it. Think about the numbers with developers and begin to sort of get creative about how you create some density and some scale and height, and at the same time ask for more affordability or more units, or sometimes same level of affordability but deeper, right? There are ways to think about this. But affordability has got to be something we do, and production has to be some way that something that we're leveraging to get more affordability out, right? So that's why next to transit, having scale and having density makes sense. Lastly, and I'm going to shut up and do Q&A. Lastly is the innovation space and the small business startup space. I don't have to say that to you guys because you've been talking about it from supporting artists and everyone else, but we've had some success in Boston. We're rivaling, and I think our biggest competitor is sections of California. We're rivaling other cities, regions on the startup numbers, on how many businesses are starting up here in Boston. But we're not seeing that same rivalry if you come out to our neighborhood. So the mayor launched at the end of last year a neighborhood innovation district in Black. We received some recommendations on how to help spreading innovation and startup buzz in our neighborhood. If you guys understand some of the work that you started to do here in the Four Corners, but we need to make sure that it's a campaign that's real, and I'm trying to understand from the city standpoint of how we are good partners in helping you do it. What we've heard from folks in our neighborhood innovation district, advisory committee, sorry for the name, was that we need to marry three things in neighborhood: talent and ideas, with technical assistance, how you bring that to industry, with capital, right? And an underlining part of the physical part of what we need to do is affordable space, right? We need to connect talent with technical assistance or consultants or people who can help you think about a business plan to start it with capital, meaning money, right? To help you get some affordable money to start businesses. And without those three things, and I always like to underline affordable space, without those three things that that neighborhoods like Four Corners, parts of Dorchester and other places aren't really going to take advantage of the fact that Boston has all of those elements. And it's working in some parts of our city, but not in all parts of our city. So I applaud you in the work that you're doing here, but implore you to do more in that space. Because one thing that I found out as Chief of Economic Development, I hear all the time, is that there's a lot of money out there. Folks, there is a lot of money out there. Let me say that again. There's a lot of money out there. So the other day I had to host a meeting. I hosted a meeting where the investor complained. The investor, some of you might know, not all call out, but the investor complained that there wasn't enough small business ideas in the pipeline.
Are you kidding?
Okay?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Who is this?
Social impact investor. So they're looking at neighborhoods like this. Right, we hosted a responsible investor meeting at the Parkman House, the mayor and I. There were like 30 different funds, at least 30 different funds at that meeting, that want to do more social impact investing in neighborhoods like this. And I'm talking about real estate at this point. I'm talking about business development, right? And I know this one that I'm talking about, but basically all of them said it was we need to have more in the pipeline. Not just ideas, folks, but marrying ideas to TA, real TA, about how you can do it, and then bring in the capital or the money. And I'm pledging here, being recorded while I pledge to say, you can marry the ideas with the TA, I'll find the money. Right? Because I got people who I'm asking to invest in our neighborhoods, they're saying, bring us more ideas, bring us more business plans, right? And support folks to get their business plans together and bring them to us because we want to invest in them. And if that's something that I've been preaching, I've been saying we need to invest in our neighborhoods, and people looking at me like, well, bring us to. Here's why I know that's true. The mayor advocated for new licenses, new liquor licenses, right? And we have some neighborhoods applying for them, and others not. Now, we're not talking about liquor licenses for your corner bar. You know what we're talking about? We're talking about liquor licenses for restaurants, cafes, right? For neighborhood establishments that we think are good for main streets and other neighborhoods, right? Folks, we're not getting applications. It's not good. Okay? So we did phase one, make it available. Phase two, and I'm out here pleading with you. Phase two is bring us the ideas, credible ideas, good business plans. And I want to be able to say, we're going to do what we got in our toolbox to help you move your plan forward. Now, I know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it's scary work, too. It's scary work. I helped to open a restaurant on Oak Street. It's scary work. 9 out of 10 restaurants failed. Right? In the first year. We moved into a space of a restaurant that failed in the first year. The restaurant that we opened. Right? But it's work that we can do together. And that's why the TA piece is so critical, working with consultants to help you think about your business, to help you think about how to put it together. And then we'll bring in some capital and things like business licenses, liquor licenses, etc., to help you move that forward. So that's the last piece I want to say. It was really implore you to come up with your business ideas and restaurants, if you dare to, eateries in this space that are different than what we have here, that we can help. I thank you for allowing me to be here, and I'm ready to take on your questions. So, only tough questions. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll do one question at a time. Have Mr. Barros completely answer the question, and then we have a top crowd here. You ready?
That's what I heard. I want to see
Okay, who's first?
Hi, my name is Terrence Williams, and I'm running for City Council for District 4. And I love that great aspect of all the businesses and how the development is planning on in this community. And you know, my thing is education and our children education. I heard about the funding that they bring in for the businesses and stuff like that. But what about, you know, giving money for the businesses who go into the schools to teach the kids on how to, you know, run the business successfully, so they can branch off and do their own. And that way we can actually, you know, bring our education system up. And also going after our top colleges and universities, which are in Boston, because we have the #1 throughout the nation, to where they can help, you know, really help this economy and help the education part, you know, with our children. So after they graduate, they're just not out there on the street corner. They're also out there, you know, preparing for a job and getting ready for a job. Because as we all know, most kids aren't prepared to go to college and don't want to go to college, but want to open up their own businesses so they can open up shops in their own neighborhood where they live.
Yeah, no question. Once again, I think I'm asking everybody in this room to figure out where the next meeting is for the Boston High School redesign conversation. Because at the core of that conversation is how we design high schools that allow our students to have practical experience in business development, business startup, and in careers. Not at the expense of academic enrichment. But we think, and educators think, and there have been some school models that have shown that you can learn math while you're studying for business and management. That you can learn literature, English, or another language while you in fact have a co-op or some kind of internship. And so we think we can marry the two without taking away from one or the other. So you're dead on. I want to recognize some institutions in Boston that are doing a tremendous job, and some institutions that are not. And I'll say it pretty clearly. Who knows what the community college graduation rate is here on time for our city, state, or even the nation, whatever one you want to choose. Here we go. Let me give you a hint. Low single digits.
4%?
Low single digits, whatever one you choose. Low single digits. And we are not doing well. Just look it up. Somebody Google it and correct me if it needs to, but we are not doing well on that front. So we need to do a better job, like I said before, not just preparing our high schoolers, but there is a workforce development track, infrastructure, that we've created that includes the post-high school educational institutions, like our community colleges and others, that are not giving our students what they need. It's a huge, huge problem that we've got to address. We're not off the hook on that. I'm taking blame for that and saying we need to correct, and something that we're looking at.
My name's Adam Gibbons. I live in the area in Shawnee for 15 years, and I do consulting with the business districts along the Fairmount line, helping them talk about look at the future and how the Fairmount is affecting business districts. So it's nice to hear you really challenge and encourage us to come to you with ideas, and that there's money out there. So that's government saying, seeing the big picture. But when you say us, Barros, you could clarify for me, because I work in the field and I don't know who us is. And
Us for what?
well, you said come to us with ideas. So could you kind of who's us? Or what's the process or whatever?
Yeah, I think I'll say, come to us, the Walsh administration, for ideas, and then I'll second that with, and if you bring an idea to anybody in the city of Boston, any employee of the city of Boston, where either you felt your application maybe for a permit was dismissed, not heard, you felt the process was wrong, dysfunctional, I'll give you my card and my information. This is what we're trying to correct. So when I say us, I mean everybody. Now, I've been in meetings where I've said us. And I've had some people who are directors in my cabinet in that same meeting. So I'll get us, and I said to the building owner, we had a building owner meeting. I was like, look, neighborhoods change. We want you to invest in your own buildings. Instead of having to feel like you have to sell your building, you know the value of your building. And if you want to invest in it, we're going to make these tools available. And we want to be partners. And we want to make it easy. And we want to, I did this whole spiel, right? And then I got up to sit down, and somebody came up, and she wasn't right next. She wasn't right after me, but like 3 people next. She gets up and she says, look, I've been the director of this department for X years. The first thing I'm going to do is say no. Right? And I'm going to say no. And I'm going to make sure that it's as safe as it possibly be. And what we can do, and she just did the opposite of what I just said. This is somebody who's the director of a department in our cabinet. And she said, and it's really difficult to do, but I'll work. She made it sound, I mean, I'm like, I don't want to apply for anything like that because it just, and then I get the mic again and I say, look, the biggest thing we're doing in City Hall right now is a mental shift, it's a culture shift. And we're trying to say yes, and let's figure out how we do this, as opposed to say no, and then make you think you gotta jump to all these other routes by yourself, or call somebody you think you know. And so, I'll say to you here, the biggest thing we're doing in City Hall is a mental shift. And if you go to people with your ideas and you feel like, now look, people have brought us ideas that we just can't do. I get that. People have brought us ideas that we can't do, that for some of our funders is not feasible, not part of their appetite, and that's real. Right? But bring us your ideas. Don't let us not get things done because you didn't ask or you didn't bring your ideas. Let that be the process that you're asking to bring in your ideas. We just have early concept conversation before you do too much work. And then we can say, yeah, and I've got an investor for you, and I have a partner over here, or I have an allowance to do it that way. I was to be a city of big ideas. I was to move out of being a city of small ideas, or just a city of big ideas downtown. Right? We need to be a city of big ideas in our neighborhoods, in a way that it works for our neighborhoods, by our neighborhoods, because that's what we want to really support. We don't want to just be an innovation city in an innovation district at the seaport. We want to be an innovative city in innovation districts all over our neighborhoods and help you think it through and then be creative partners on the side. I get it, not everybody thinks that way. But I'm saying us, and I'm not going to just say me, I'm saying us at City Hall, because the mayor said this is the kind of city he wants to run. And we want you to help us get there. When you hit a roadblock, let us know.
We have 1, 2, 3. Relton?
Yeah, you said
Finish this up, please.
you talk about investors. You talk about investors, and what can you do to bring these investors here in Four Corners to see these small businesses that are going on now that can help them? What can you do to bring them in the area?
Well, I just put out a challenge. If you can give me an investment, I'll help you try to find the investment. I think the investors are out there. I think I've heard from all types of investors that they don't have enough opportunities in the neighborhood. So when I say, I come to them and I say, I need you to also think about our neighborhoods. I need you to also invest in our neighborhoods. There was a group of investors we put together that basically said, look, part of our money we want to go in the neighborhoods. There's one in particular that people around here might know, and I'll call them out actually, so that whoever asks the question, who did I talk about? There's a group called Boston Impact Investment. So Boston Impact Initiative, BII. Go look them up. And you go ask them. They are trying to put money in your neighborhood right now. And they've got a fund of $5 million. And they can't find enough businesses in the pipeline. Now they've got an appetite, right? And they want to be feasible, but they're not looking for businesses that are making $5 million a year. They're not looking for businesses. These are social impact investors who want a return that's reasonable and want to have only fund businesses that have social impact, folks. And social impact doesn't mean you're just making money, right? But it does mean that you might be opening a business in a neighborhood that's depressed from a business development standpoint, or have less jobs or something like that.
You have a lot of them here tonight, that needed the assistance and these help, that we could bring these investors here to see what they're doing that can help them to go forward from where they are.
Yeah, so So the first thing is, in doing that, you guys know this, so I don't want to repeat something that you know, but in order for you to get money from someone, you gotta bring them something that's in a plan, right? That's in a certain package. And what we need to do is, for a lot of us, we don't know how to put those packages together, right? And so when I say technical assistants or consultants, is how do you work with someone, and Main Streets can help you identify, and I'm putting myself out here, I will provide the TA needed to help you put the package together. So let's say you have a small store, somebody's leaving the store next to you, you want to expand that store and do a bigger business, or you want to find a bigger space in this neighborhood, and you need some money. Or you want to just digitize your business because you need, right now you're counting your cash. You're putting in a ledger, you want a computer. I mean, all those different things that we can help you put a package together to ask for money so that you can do that. Now, as a small business owner, you don't want every money. There are certain interest rates you don't want. There are certain conditions to money you don't want, and we'll go through that, right? We'll figure that out. But I'm finding some socially responsible investors who actually want to not just make a return, but want you to succeed in a way that helps improve the neighborhood. And for me, there's more and more of those, and it's becoming interesting to see. And so now I know what I need to do is drum up the idea. Say to you, when you thought it was not available, it is available. Governor Law Patrick recently announced a new job at Bain. His new job at Bain is to raise money so that he can invest in social impact initiatives. And those are large social impact initiatives. But that's the trend. The trend is there's so much money out there that people who have money want some portion of their money to do something good. And I want to be able to help you tap into that trend.
So can I just maybe, can you break down the social impact piece? What is the social impact? I did have a few questions about, they want to kind of get a sense of exactly what it is. What examples of it?
So, a lot of the, if you ever go to a mass challenge, a mass challenge is an incubator. Incubator meaning people go there with ideas of things they want to produce, that are new ideas, and mass challenge helps them get it off the ground and grow, right? But it's a contest. This is what it is. So mass challenge there's like, I think the last count, there was a couple of thousand applications for a class of a couple of hundred at mass challenge. Applications come from all over the world. About 30% of mass challenge applications are social impact ideas. There was a couple of ideas of people who had new ways of growing seeds, of growing crops from seeds with less water. Revolutionary ideas. They would cut the need of water for about half with the technology they brought. There were some that were trying to solve for certain diseases. There was some that was using technology to help this one had new technology of how you can create limbs that worked with your neural capacity, so that you can do the not just neurons, like the nerves, the nervous system. So there are all types of things that they're trying to do. A lot of them are health related. Some of them are about crops and crop creation and how to do something differently. Others are about sort of like technology that can help you have an easier lifestyle. In our neighborhoods, social impact investment could be, in your store, you're going to have, out of your 8 jobs, 3 will be for young people under the age of 18 who have 40. I don't know. Right? They're trying to have a social impact cafe. It could be for a lot of different things, but we know the social ills, right? We know the social complexities of our neighborhood, and we need to use what we know from a needs standpoint to build the kind of businesses that address those social needs.
We'll take 3 more questions. We already have them lined out, and then if we want to respect each time, we have Kenyatta and the one that's looking. they'll have Kenyatta, then you, then Stafford, and
Can I just sneak in and follow up the social impact piece, because that's key. And I don't want you to have to jump back
Okay.
to it later. So
Is it
if
okay?
you, please.
Yes,
approach.
please.
Okay, thank you. So, the social impact initiative, you mentioned something about, carrying kids that have Corey. And I even mentioned maybe a program that could hire people who are ex-offenders and so on.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that you went there, because I'm finishing up a job right now in your neighborhood, in Upper Squad.
Yeah.
And I shared this with Marvin when I first signed on
The St.
early
Kevin's
last
Project?
fall.
The St. Kevin's Project?
No, it's 713 Dudley Street, 3 Monadnock.
Yeah.
And one of the requirements, it's not contractual, but the owners are getting funding through an initiative that allows them to get tax credits
Yeah.
if the people who are installing the insulation on the roof can pass a background check. They are getting funding, a tax credit that would allow them, the project to be funded if the people who are installing the insulation can pass a background check. And part of that process is that the employer has to sign on to this agency, get qualified, and then ask the employees to fill these forms out and put them through that agency to allow them to pass that background test, and then the owners will get their funding.
Yeah.
To me, from jump, I said, I push back, not gonna do it, right? That's a negative of what you're talking about, the social impact.
Yeah.
Because in our neighborhood, people get arrested for nothing. We know that, okay? And so when you're asking me to do that, I think that I'm doing my community a disservice. And so what type of initiative could there be out there that would allow an owner, a developer, to get funding only if they can find people who can pass a background check in construction to install a particular type of material?
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That kind of funding source is out there. That has the developer, the contractor have to verify no quarries, no stories, and you have to pass the background check. Which they weren't. I wish they weren't. But there's more of that than others. And that's in the construction field, which is a field that most of us say is safe for quarries, right? That we're trying to build second chances, right? That we're trying to give people an opportunity to build skills and have a sustainable job and paying job. And you're right, it's depressing. I wish I could wave the wand, right? I wish I could say, no more of that. But unfortunately, so is this. I'm going to look into that project and that type of funding, because I'm actually trying to figure out more and more what the sources are. I hear it all the time. So I thought that brings back that's right down the street.
So with that, just really quick, can you introduce yourself and so that you can make connections right after?
Stafford Lewis, I live right in Four Corners. My business is Alpha Field and Construction Development. I live and work right around these neighborhoods, and an employer, I do.
Thank you. Your last question, Kenyatta.
So yeah, my question is, it kind of relates to what he was saying. Right now, I just did a proposal. You familiar with the medicine wheel? It's South Boston, how they work with DYS and things like that. So I just did a proposal to them to do an art class to work with those students, because they create a lot of artwork. So my goal is to teach them how to make money off of that artwork. So right now I'm just waiting for the process to come together, and also you were talking about the assistance to start a business. Like I've been in City Hall, I have a DBA for my art endeavors, and but the thing about it is, like, when I go to like the SBA or I go to the Office of Business Development and I ask them about funding for a startup, they always tell me, well, you have to be in business this long, or you have to make this amount of money in order to get funding. So it's like really hard for a startup to get started. Like I'm here, I mean, Danelle can tell you I'm here with her almost every day, talking to her about how do I get this going. And not just, you know, like I said, you weren't here when I was talking about it. I make jewelry, I make clothes, I do paintings, poetry. There's some other things that I'm learning how to do that I'm getting into. I'm always trying to learn something new. So it's like, my thing is, you know, also with my business, what I've been doing, like even I see kids getting out of school, I'll give them a card and tell them like, if you bring me customers, and I'll pay you a percentage, like sales commissions. So I'm interested in working with the youth, like, you know, youth that've been in trouble, if they've been in DYS in the system or whatever, and just the youth in general, because I know what they're up against. So I'm trying to figure out how do I help them, you know, and also with the poverty. I know that a lot of kids around here, their families are poor. So it's like I'm trying to employ people and, you know, give them jobs. I was at the My Brother's Keepers event, and I spoke with Joyce Linehan. She nominated me for the Leadership Council, but I mean, I haven't heard anything else about it.
Council,
It's supposed to be I guess it was like along the lines of art and culture.
okay.
Along the line, yeah, of arts and culture. Yeah, and also I had an interview with Julie Barros. I mean, with you know what I'm speaking of, the chief of arts and culture. And nothing came of it though. You know, all these things that I've spoken.
What did she interview you for?
For her assistant. I was supposed to be her assistant. She was hiring an assistant. So these are things that I'm trying to do, and that's really the problem, is just the capital. You know what I mean? Like, I work, I do things to try to make money, you know, but at the same time, I have
a business plan.
I have a business plan. I have, like I said, I have a business certificate.
And so in your business plan, you show how much you need
Yeah,
to reach your goals?
I've laid it out.
And then you have how you can pay for what you need? And what's your percentages of what you need that's loan and what you need that's grant?
I would think in terms of loans, it would be like equipment. For example, like.
You don't have to answer now, just if you
Okay.
or not.
All right.
So here's one thing that we in our business plans, right? In our business plans, so I used to underwrite, I used to work for insurance companies and underwrite .coms. And in the 90s, .coms, none of them were making money. They were all red. And they weren't gonna make money for like 5, 10 years. Like, it was just amazing, right? And so, you know, I was taught in business school that, you know, you fund businesses that are gonna make money in a couple of years, right? Not way out. But these guys were raking up big money because they had these elaborate plans of what they were gonna do to make money someday, right? And it was just fascinating. But a part of that is, the reason why a lot of people bought into them is because they were taking out a lot of debt on their own, right? So in our business plans, when you come to the city or anybody for a business loan or and grant, you always want to make sure that you've got some skin in the game, right? Either you've got a piece of your own money that you're putting in, or you've got some loan that you're willing to take and say, I'm going to be able to repay that, right? And it's not just grants, right? That's one. Two is, if you have a business plan that makes money, I want to see it and help you get the money. All right?
Thank you. We'll take one last question. We really want to respect your time for coming out. We want to respect a few times, so we'll take one last question. And then I'm pretty sure if you want to talk to him offline, he has his business card and we will connect you. Or you can talk to him and street to connect. Question?
Yeah, it was actually me. I had a question, but it was okay. If someone else wants to ask a question, that's fine.
You raise your hand. Do you want to ask a question?
Ask a question. So I have a question.
I have a question.
Okay, you both ask a question. So, let's start with you.
Alright, so, hi, my name's Brianna. I'm with My Dorchester. We're a community organization that connects people in Dorchester to events, resources, events, resources, and volunteer opportunities here in Dorchester. And we're partners with a program called Social Capital Inc., which revolves around the idea that you're talking about social impact and how the community networks are so vital to this, like, the overall effect of the community. So some of the things that we do is we work with organizations, obviously a lot of you here that I already know, that I work with to promote events that are happening, to recruit volunteers, to just kind of let people know what resources are out there and available to them.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, we haven't been doing the best job of outreach as far as business development, and I don't know if it's because there's a lack of resources in our community as far as that, or if it's just because I don't know how to go about promoting it. But I think it's really important what you said about our students in high school now. They need first of all, they need like training, either training or education to do a career or to go to college, but also they need strong social networks. And I'm wondering what the city can do for Dorchester and for neighborhoods like Four Corners to make sure that there is investment in social networks and investment in Four Corners Main Street, neighborhood associations, groups that really do create a strong impact on our kids and our families and, you know, the things that are going on here, so that we all feel like we're equally, you know, have equal access to resources, and also just like because there's so much research that shows that the social networks that you have growing up are what can push you forward above that poverty line. So I'm just wondering what you think from position of power.
Yeah, no, so I just want to say from an economic development standpoint, studies have shown that high social capital neighborhoods also have vibrant local community economics, right? So local community economics, lower crime, right? Higher quality of life, right? So exactly what you're talking about. So the only problem with that is, I don't do much. I can't do much as a city official. As your neighbor, I can. Right? As a city official, I can tell you, hey, neighborhoods connect, and social capital and social efficacy, right, which is neighbors connecting with neighbors to solve problems. Yeah. Neighbors connecting with neighbors in a sense of identity and pride for the neighborhood will help people shop locally. Will help people look out for your businesses, look out for your home. Will help people give it. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep moving on. Will help people feel like they're part of what's happening here. Will decrease crime, improve business and business activities, right? I can say that as a city official, I believe it right here, and there are numbers that show that that's true. But that comes from the neighborhood, right? That comes from not me coming out here and calling a meeting. It comes from folks like Marvin and Giselle and others and all the leaders in the room. And that's why it's important for you to be active. That's why it's important for every business in here to support your Main Streets. Be a part of the Main Streets, be on the board, be in other organizations. I'm not saying this because this is important stuff for you to connect, be involved, volunteer. It is an economic development imperative. It is a safety imperative. It is a health imperative. It is everything that we care about in neighborhoods has shown to improve when there's increase in what's called social capital, right? And so I just want to echo what you're saying. I just also want to say that it's not done by people outside of the neighborhood.
Right. I just feel like there's some catch-22 though. You know what I mean? I know there's another question, so.
It's a catch-22. So I want to be able to support your efforts for social social capital. I want to be able to, you tell me I come. Ask for a different policy. I'm trying to be attentive. But it's got to come from here. It's got to come from, because that is the basis of the social capital that you're trying to build in neighborhood. So I applaud you for doing it. I know my Dorchester Social Capital Inc. Good work. And I just want to make a plug to everybody here. Plug in, get involved. Really, really important.
It is time. It is time. I know there's a lot of burning questions in the room, so we would love to welcome you back to Four Corners. We have 9 neighborhood associations that umbrella under the Great Four Corners Action Coalition. We have great community meetings. We have a great one coming up on June 3rd talking about our new development. So we encourage you to come and be a part of this process, the planning process, the WAG, the process of dismantling neighbors and connecting them to resources. We thank you.
Let me just say thank you, and before you close, and just say, look, there is no neighborhood better position than Four Corners. You guys are an exciting place. There's a lot of exciting things. I'm not saying it's done here. You have the civic capital and social capital that others right around you envy, right? You've done some things that people are now saying, I want to do it like Four Corners. That's what I heard at the WAG, right? And so I'm not just spilling this up. This is stuff I'm hearing from the neighbor that I know, right? So with that, what you created here makes you attractive. Continue to be involved. Continue to push, because we want to make sure that it's about the people who are here, right? And so your initial investment, your initial involvement is actually calling you to do more. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
As we close, I just wanted to share, just for me, it's been a long year, and I want to say thank you to you all. I can't do it without the board, my businesses, I love you guys. All the new developments coming, I'm excited to work with you. I think we have a lot of work to do in Four Corners, and all our neighborhood association, the coalition, our small businesses, we have to work together to make it happen. And we're gonna stay right here and do it, right?
Right.
Okay. So you all can volunteer, start Saturday at 11, and